Hello, my name is Rachel Bernstein, and I lead Benetech's Data for Inclusion initiative. Data for Inclusion empowers the global disability rights movement with technology and data that reflects the lived experiences of people with disabilities. Meet Jane. She's from Kenya. She's a confident self-advocate, and she's active in a national organization of people with intellectual disabilities, but she regularly runs into barriers to her independence and inclusion in society. What if Jane could document these experiences from her phone? What if this kind of evidence-powered disability advocacy at local, national, and international levels? An estimated 1 billion people live with disabilities. That's about 15% of the world's population. 80% of them live in lower income developing countries. The available data reflects policies, but not necessarily their outcomes or the firsthand experiences of people with disabilities. This data and stories are needed to improve civil society programs for people with disabilities, enable awareness raising initiatives, drive advocacy aimed at policy change, and monitor the implementation of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Our solution is called Data for Inclusion. We also call it D4I. Data for Inclusion is both a program and a data platform that's designed to deliver localized information about the rights and entitlements that people with disabilities have, and also facilitate reporting directly from those people on their experience via structured data, as well as multimodal inputs to support accessibility options. This generates data that's useful for the disability rights movement and other stakeholders in advocacy, capacity building, program evaluation, and chatter reporting on the CRPD. As we've said before, this strengthens the capacity of those partners to use technology and manage data that will be useful in their work overall. Here's a block diagram of the Data for Inclusion platform. On the left, we have the mobile apps, which is what someone like Jane might use. This allows us to deliver accessible information and also collect structured and unstructured or multimodal information from people like Jane. And then all of the elements to the right are more organizational users. So perhaps Jane might use them as a representative of her national organization that she's a part of, right? So the form builder allows sort of a no-code way to create new modules for an existing app. There's a data management portal that allows you to look at the data that's coming in and is being collected from the app. And then also there are functionalities around data analysis and reporting that allow you to crunch those numbers and make them useful for advocacy and other end uses. The mobile apps are right now just Android, but also available on the browser. And this is what allows us to deliver that information as well as facilitate reporting directly from people with disabilities. We've done a lot of work around accessibility. So for example, in the screenshot, there's a bunch of information about the rights to employment for people with disabilities, and then a question that asks, why is employment important to you? And the user can respond with text or with audio or with video or any combination of the above to give them the options that are best for the way that they would like to respond. The form builder allows organizational users to customize new content. So they might add a module on COVID and the impact of the pandemic. We also support multiple languages, and this is where we can program in both question types or information sharing that use audio, video, images, or text, as well as response types that include that type of multimedia. So the screenshot shows a place to name the form, selecting metadata that wants to be collected with the form, and then different question types, a note that says your rights to live in community, a text question that says who do you live with, and a multiple choice or yes or no answer that says, does your country uphold this right? The data management portal allows organizational users to view the aggregated data that's collected via the app and look at metadata and analytics to be able to improve those interactions. This kind of portal allows groups to move from collecting data on paper and or via Google survey and be able to sort of have a systemized way to manage their data. The data analysis and reporting is also really important for this ongoing use of data programmatically for these types of stakeholders. This module allows the organizations to build dashboards and do analysis that's useful in their efforts around advocacy. On the screenshot, we can see the whole list of questions that's on this form, and we can select charts to build around questions like, do you get paid fairly for your work? Or are you employed? Or do you get the support you need? Data for Inclusion works closely with partners. We work with disability rights projects and local organizations. We help those local partners to customize the content and support their thinking around the principal objectives of using the apps or the platform. And then we also help them to think through the sort of data flow. So how they might use this platform to collaborate among groups. And this is one of the really exciting opportunities that this platform provides, is to sort of standardize across multiple groups, a majority of the questions that are being asked, so that this can be aggregated up and useful in a wider campaign, while some smaller subsection of that data might be useful just at the local level or just for one individual group. I'm pleased to share with you a message from a partner we've been working with very closely, Inclusion International. We've been working with their member organizations in Kenya and Bangladesh to make this platform useful for people with intellectual disabilities and their families.
Inclusion International is the global network of people with intellectual disabilities and their families. And alongside our members in Kenya and Bangladesh, we're working with Benetech to use the Data for Inclusion platform to create an app that will empower people with intellectual disabilities to report violations of their human rights and also share stories of their own self-advocacy with other DPOs within our network. So working with Benetech on building an app through the Data for Inclusion platform, the flexibility of the platform is something that's been really important to us, because it means that we've been able to work on creating a tool that's accessible to people with intellectual disabilities, from using more intuitive menu structures to plain language content to pictures and videos and other strategies that we've developed alongside self-advocates to create a tool on the Data for Inclusion platform that is really co-created by people with intellectual disabilities and that is accessible for everyone to use. Right now, we're using the platform in Kenya and Bangladesh through our Inclusion Works partnership, and we're focusing on an app that will disseminate information about employment rights to people with intellectual disabilities, and then allow them to report back on their experiences and their own self-advocacy for inclusive employment. Data for Inclusion gives us the tools for both information dissemination and data collection, which then allows us to make sure that the experiences of self-advocates are feeding back and they become the voices for inclusion that are feeding our policy and advocacy work at the national and global levels.